All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here. It's Merkin Gun Reviews. And, yeah, it's early for me in the morning. Last night we recorded our 2,000 subscriber video. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I feel like, you ever have one of those days where you feel like you smoked a bunch of cigarettes and you don't smoke? That's how I feel right now. So my voice is a little shot, but I want to get through the latest episode of Kevin Can Fuck Himself from AMC. So again, if you like what I'm doing here, please, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I am really enjoying watching this as the show progresses. And this is episode 4, Live Free or Die. I want to give a special shout out to the actress who plays Patty, Mary Allison, because she is a very interesting character. I think one of the things about this show that it's trying to set up is that Allison has talked about how Kevin has, kind of removed everything from her life that was hers, including friends. And to me, that would also include any kind of support system that she has. I just had a commenter go really into detail about the whole "why don't you leave" theory, which I think is in the end a big part of this show. Maybe the most central part of this show, which is the how in a lot of troubled marriages people say, well, why don't you just leave? And or not even marriages, but like just any kind of relationship that's toxic, whether it's a marriage or just a boyfriend or girlfriend, or whatever kind of relationship you have. I don't know. And it's interesting because how she talks about, in other episodes, that he'd just come and find her, that, no matter where she goes, and there is that fear. Now, Kevin doesn't seem like an abusive guy, physically or anything, but he's very controlling, and I've seen people that I care about in those kind of relationships and not be able to leave. And for me, I'm like, hey, it's like black and white. It's like you either, if this person's right for you, you stay. If it's not, you leave. And I have watched somebody in my life go, come back, go, come back, go, come back, to the where I'm like, okay, it's your choice. I'm not getting involved anymore. If you're not going to listen, you know, but it doesn't stop me from worrying. And I still want to be there for that person in some sort of support system. But you realize, or at least I do in this case, like it's psychological in a lot of ways. The person I'm talking about, I still can't quite figure out what is holding them back. Sometimes, it's the fear of being alone. That you'd rather be with someone than no one. But that's not really the case here with Allison, I don't think. And what I think one of the things she really needs, and I think this is a nice start for her, is a support system. Even if it's just one person in Patty, the next door neighbor, the person that she's known all her life, the person that's stood by and watched as they talk about as Kevin did these things that everybody thought is funny. And I think that that's a really big part in this, is their growing relationship, which contrasts what's going on in the house in our sitcom section, which is pretty, again, pretty tropey, pretty cliched, but that's the point. Kevin wanting to start an escape room. And right from the get-go, right? She's going to take the car to go with Patty. Now, she lies about where they're going, because you can't say we're going to buy Oxy to kill you. But she can't even leave the house without, like, the third degree. She can't even... Wow, my camera now turns off at 4 minutes instead of 9. if it doesn't have, if it has to do with him, if it could affect him in any way, it's the only time he notices anything that she says, practically. Or, if he just wants to correct her, like about we're titans of industry. The guy's got delusions of grandeur about everything. And, maybe he is so tired of his own life that in a way he almost wants to leave. And that's not to give Kevin an excuse. But, maybe he feels somewhere in that brain of his, on some level, almost the same thing. But he approaches it in a more absolutely juvenile and narcissistic way. That's just a possibility. I'm trying to have a level playing field as I try to consider all different angles here, because I know I've come at it pretty hard against him, but there's always two sides to everything. But this show is not really about Kevin. Maybe it will be partially as the show goes on. Maybe we'll see a bit more of things. But he really is, like, if one of my sisters was going out with a guy like Kevin, So she wants the car keys. He's got the, where you going kind of attitude. She can't even get him to pay attention about the food that's in the oven. Another thing that we've noticed in this show is when she's not there, things go wrong. Things get weird. And I love how they make it almost like how in a sitcom would try to paint it as the other person's fault. Like, if you had just done this, this wouldn't have happened. Which is, she doesn't answer the phone when he calls her because he doesn't know how to work the printer or the computer or where his Bruins hat is to do his little escape room. And how by not answering the phone, him not remembering, him not recalling anything that she says because it doesn't matter to him, he, does something rash like call the police and make it sound like for a second that he was concerned about her when really he was just looking for the Crisco so he could get his Winnie the Pooh stuck in the window problem fixed. I was more worried that the house was going to be burned down. And, what if they had... There was no way he was going to be able to pay the $10,000 for the escape room people. Which, that whole thing really doesn't really have... We don't really have to talk that much about the escape room thing. It's almost not important. If the show was about how, the sitcom part of it more, then I'd say sure. But I mean, he comes up with this convoluted scheme, this absolutely idiotic scheme, to lock people in a basement and then give them a bunch of hard clues that they can't get out, and they won't lose the $10,000 that they're offering. But the people already know by the end of it that it was all a scam. And, all the things that he's trying to do. Like, how are you going to make money? Like, I guess he's going to make money off of the few dollars that you get for people to come into your basement and not win money. And how many times would you do that before people got wise that you're just a scammer? Probably, you'd maybe get away with it 2, maybe 3 times. But the real point is that because she didn't pick up the phone, the problem escalates and escalates and escalates till we get to these situations where he calls the cops and reports the car stolen because he won't retain the knowledge of where she is. And it begs the question, is he doing it on purpose? Does he subconsciously know and just chooses to ignore it? And the way that they paint it, I feel like he really is oblivious. They paint it like he's really, really oblivious, and that all these things that he's doing that damages her are because he is so... I feel like the word narcissistic might even be too strong for what he's doing. He is just completely, like I've said, he's not self-aware. I guess that's narcissistic. He just seems too dumb for a word like narcissistic. But meanwhile, we got Patty and Allison bonding on the road. And it's done really simply with just a joke that Allison tells about how she killed her mother to get her out of the way so that Allison could date her dad. And yes, gallows humor. It might not land for some people. This joke lands for Patty, and this is when Patty realizes that she likes her. And they start to like break down the barriers between them through this episode. Patty starts out as the one who knows what she's doing. You know, she's got these connections. She's do this and don't do that. I'm the one who knows what's going on about this. And it turns out as it goes along, like she doesn't really. They go to the place to get the oxy. It turns out they used the wrong word, so they got coke. They don't have coke, so they have to take a kid to the next connection. And that turns out to be her just getting used as a taxi cab service for the 13-year-old in the back seat, who then tells them to go to this guy, Red Rooster. And Red Rooster turns out to be a guy without oxy, but a gun. So she trades the coke for a gun, because that's better than what they were looking for. And making it sound like, oh, you just put the gun in the guy's face. Because, she's not a criminal either. Not, neither of these people, neither of these women are criminals. Patty just kind of got caught up in a drug scheme to help the people in her neighborhood. And when the connection got lost, she just is kind of grasping at straws. She doesn't really, she's not even like Jesse Pinkman, right? Because I've made Breaking Bad references before, like these two, these characters Breaking Bad. Allison's not Walter White. And Patty's not Jesse Pinkman. She's not some, like Pinkman is, like, right, a low-level drug dealer with delusions of grandeur. These are just regular-ass people who are stumbling through these little schemes that they have. And somehow getting out of it as well. But what I think the most important part is like when they get to the truck stop or the gas station, and Allison gets it in her head, oh, trucker, maybe he has drugs. The moment turns when she's about to buy the oxy from the guy, and Patty hits the guy over the head, knocking him out. And the realization of, oh my God, she thinks she's a hero. She thinks she just saved Allison from this guy who's been stalking her, which there is no guy stalking her. The realization of that she's just assaulted somebody, she completely, becomes a mess. Her real self is shown that she talks big, but once confronted with something, the realization of it all freaks her out. She's got fear. She realizes, oh my God, I can go to jail for assault, and committing violence to somebody, People, in movies and TV, they make it seem like it's just something that happens and you walk away from because you're justified or whatever. But when you do something in real life, it does not feel like they show it in the movies or TV, where it's just like, oh, whatever, we just did what we did. There's no PTSD or anything involved. They never really go into that. Now, Allison does get the oxy, the little bottle of oxy, and they they get out of there. And this is where Allison now, she's in the driver's seat. She's drinking the Red Bull. She's in charge, And when they get pulled over, Patty's the one that's falling apart. Patty's the one that has the gun there, and Allison has to shove it down her pants. And Allison's the one who keeps calm. Now, is that because she's dealt with so many difficult things from Kevin that this is actually something more in her wheelhouse? Or is it more just they got lucky and are flying by the seat of their pants, and they just needed to contrast that relationship to build their relationship and make it a little stronger. Allison needs to see Patty's value, and Patty needs to see Allison's value, because once they get talked out of the problem, which is Kevin calls the cops, reports the car stolen, and Allison has to explain to the cops, oh, sorry, my husband, it's me, I should have answered the call, making like I'm a dumb I'm the dumb wife, you know, and they go, oh, ha, 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 yeah, just make sure you answer your husband's call, you know, check in with your hubby. Now, this is where Allison again shows, they talk about how Patty's been around whenever Kevin has been doing these things, and they laugh. She stands there and she laughs, she says. When, you know, she was a paralegal, and Kevin thought that she was having an affair with her 60-year-old married boss and got her fired. It was taking away something that she finally had for herself that wasn't his. And you all laughed about it. Or what about when he took all the money out of our bank account? What about then? All these things that he's been doing that aren't funny. And this is when she tells Patty that I don't have a guy that's following me around. I don't owe him any oxy. I need the oxy for Kevin because I'm going to kill him. Now, this is... They might chalk this up as, like, in the next episode of, like, I'm just kidding around. I was just kidding around. I really do have a bad back or something like that. They could completely reverse on this, but she's put it out there. Or Patty could just be like, oh, you were just upset and letting off steam. They could completely reverse all of this in the next episode. But we'll see. I mean, can she trust Patty? I mean, Patty's not a drug dealer anymore, so Patty wouldn't have, you know, she does have the cops asking questions about her relationship with the pharmacist, but I don't know. We'll see, because next week we've got Robin Taylor, is it Robin Lord Taylor that's coming back, the guy who played the Penguin on Gotham, looking for the Oxycontin. I'm glad that they're calling him back from, I believe, the first episode. So her history of selling drugs to people, it looks like next week is going to kind of come back and bite her in the ass. So will they have to give the pills to this guy who would probably go to the cops and tell them what's really been going on? I don't know. But we'll see. Because next week, you know, it seems like there's more going on with Sam's wife, Jen and her, but I love AMC's trailers because they're really, really vague. So anyway, that's the end of episode 4. It's pretty interesting. It does, like I said, build a bond that I think Allison needs, which is build a bit of a support system, maybe somebody who can help her come up with a better idea than murdering Kevin. Otherwise, thank you for watching. If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Hit the bell for all notifications. If you hated everything I said in this video and you just want to have your mind erased so you can get the last 19 minutes or so of your life back, we can give you a better memory. So all of you who liked it, please look away. If you did not like this, look right here and we'll give you a better memory. This is the memory I'd like you to have. Have a good one.
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?